Hello everybody, my name is Merc and today I am playing Glare, which is a newly released action platformer of sorts. As you can tell, a very sparse menu screen here. It doesn't even have a title of any sort, so you wouldn't know if I was playing Glare unless, I told you and it was titled that way. Which it is, so, Anyway, we're going to check out the options screen real quick, because this is something I like to do every time I do a video. So music and volume sliders, or sound sliders, of course, both of them are volume sliders, I guess. And then there's graphics sliders, which is alright, I suppose. I didn't realize that there was a high and ultra, which I guess I should have. And yeah, everything else is pretty basic. There's not a whole lot of options here, obviously, but I don't think the game necessarily requires it because it's not a very intensive game as it is, and there's not a whole lot of effects going on either. But it looks pretty nice. I'll give it that. But yeah, this is just a basic options screen and keyboard and mouse fully rebindable, and gamepad rebindable as well, which is pretty cool. Right? Yeah, that's good. Rebindable gamepads, not something that you see very often. What's going on here? Okay, I had to press escape, sorry. As you can see, there's actually not a whole lot to the game here. There's just these buttons here: jump, glare, shoot, light bomb. I don't think I've even used these yet. Light bomb? Yeah, I don't think I've used these yet. Line of Fate. Now, the reason why I'm surprised is why I didn't use them is because I'm actually almost done the game. I played the game quite a bit on myself. And as you can see here, there is 4 worlds that I played, and they average about 20 minutes each, I guess. And there's also a 5th world, which is confirmed on the loading screen, and that might be it for the entire game. So this looks like a pretty short game, and there's not a whole lot of collectibles. And I thought I was doing pretty good with the collectibles. I thought, like, oh, these collectibles are so easy to find, but apparently I'm missing a bunch on the 1st world and a couple on the later worlds as well. So the issue that I'm finding myself when I'm trying to determine how I was going to do this video is where should I start off with, because the tree world is very, very basic, and you only have like one ability, and even then, well, 2 abilities, I guess, but even then only one of them comes like halfway through the level, and the rest of the worlds you get like abilities as you go on, but you don't those abilities aren't so important enough that it feels like you've progressed a whole lot. Like, I don't know, I'm very confused. I'm gonna do Pillar World. I feel like that's probably the best of both worlds, as in I don't want to start the video with me just doing the first level over again, because it's very boring, unfortunately, because it's a slow start. You don't have much to go with, and then I don't want to show you just that part of the game and then you expecting that is the entirety of the playthrough. So you play as this little guy here. I think his name is Glare, and he's just coming to save this planet from the darkness, which is, a decent story. You can left click to shoot, and right click to glare and make your beam stronger, and that causes enemies to run away because they are made out of darkness. They don't like the light, and then if you want to kill them, you have to shoot them. So with this system, I actually have some problems, unfortunately, and in addition to this problem right here, where you go down a hill and you start sliding. Okay, that's pretty cool, I guess, except for the fact that you have pretty much no control of when you're going to slide and whatnot. And as you can see, here's some of the combat, and these are basically the enemies you're going to see throughout the whole game. They barely change, unfortunately, and I've given this game its fair shake. I went to the 4th world to check out different types of enemy variety, and there's not a whole lot there. Like, there is enemy variety for sure, but they're kind of almost like variants on the same theme. Now, one thing I do want to mention here, these vines is an instant death if you touch those, but the checkpoint systems are pretty good in this game. I will just start off at the beginning, obviously, now, because I didn't have a checkpoint, but that is something that you need to consider every time you see vines like that. But you can get damaged, of course, and not die. I think it's 3 hits until you die. But what's weird is there's no health bar at all. Instead of a health bar, what happens is as you get hurt, your screen darkens a little bit around the edges. I don't understand why they decide to do that at all, because it just kind of makes it a little more complicated. Like, when you're actually in the heat of combat and then it starts going black all around you, you can't like see. That's not something that you want to happen. Now up there, actually, I just kind of went over it, was the checkpoint, and then this little light beam thing, I think it just started on this level, and you have to just shine your light on the one. You can't shine it on the other one, which is weird. But yeah, when you shine your light on the one, then it causes the beam to spawn. Now the light does a lot of things, including in bringing in that collectible there that dropped from the enemy, and that collectible is actually just health. So It's not. There's no. There's the only collectibles in this game really are the artifacts that you find occasionally hidden throughout the level. And I thought they weren't so well hidden, but apparently, like I said earlier, I actually am pretty bad at finding them apparently. So I just got another checkpoint here. I gotta light that thing so that I can turn on the beam, and then wall jump. The animations are another of the sore spots in this game, unfortunately. It's just the animations, especially for wall jumping, just look very, very weird. I don't know if I can give a decent example. I mean, they look okay. They look like they're serviceable for sure, but feels like they could have been doing a little bit better. Now, one of the things about the beam, besides just scaring away enemies, is you can actually reflect projectiles. You might have seen it earlier with those turrets. Oh, so as you can see there, I got hurt and everything went black for a second. That's not really that cool. Also, your character actually darkens to determine your health, and I'm pretty sure it's always 3 hits and you're dead. Now, one of the issues I have with this game, I have quite a few issues, unfortunately, but one of the main issues, well, not one of the main, but one of the issues, I guess, is that down here, oh, I don't think I can go back down there safely. I could just kill myself. Let's just kill myself. It's quick respawn. Unfortunately, vines are an instant KO, and then I just respawn back over here. So, I'm not that far, right? I don't even remember how far away I was from the point that I wanted to make. I know there's combat right here. Okay, kill these guys dead. Alright, now the point that I want to make here is, see this little slope? Soon, the moment you go down here, it'll automatically start you'll speed up, right? Like that. You can't control that at all. Like, you can stop yourself if you don't want to speed up like that, but you can't initiate it at any time you want. The only times it initiates is when the developers feel like that it is an appropriate time to initiate. Now, that's kind of something I don't really understand. It feels like you're taking control away from the player. Oh, that was real dumb of me. Now I'm kind of regretting killing myself on purpose to show that off, because of course I would just show it off later in the level when it appears, because it will appear again for sure. But yeah, that's one of the items, or one of the upgrades that you get, I think, in like the 2nd or 3rd level. Actually, this is the 3rd level, so I guess the 2nd level is when you'd get that upgrade. And basically it just means that you travel faster, and you can almost do like oh my god, that was so bad. I can't believe I just did that. This game's not really all that difficult, especially in the platforming aspects. The only difficult parts I've had with this game are some combat sections, basically, where they spawn so many enemies at you at once that you almost have no time to react, and that's the only times I've ever found myself dying, essentially, because enemies are spawning on top of me, and you just don't have enough time to react and, you know, glare all around you. And I think I do need to speed myself up in order to make this jump, and apparently I can't do it. That's unfortunate. I've beaten this level, so like this shouldn't be difficult at all. But apparently it is. Alright, let's go shoot these things again. Clear up the darkness, which damages you over time. Kill this dragon dude. Alright, this time we're going to make it. This time we're not going to die, because I don't want to do this again. A 4th time. Okay. Just kill them all. Kill them all dead. Just don't die yourself, but kill them all dead. Oh yeah, you can also, one of the cool things that is about this game is glaring at enemies causes them to run away from you, and if you cause them to run into the vines, they are also insta-killed, just like you would be. Okay, so we're at a checkpoint. Thankfully, we don't need to ever do that part ever again. So yeah, one of the coolest things about this game is when you first start, all you have is the glare. You don't have the gun. Oops, I didn't realize that was a vine when I should have. So the first half of the first level, I guess, is basically you running away from enemies and pushing them into vines instead of killing them with your gun, which I found was actually a lot of fun. But once you got your gun, it's just kind of like little pea shooters, pew pew pew. Like, it doesn't even make any noise. Like, you can barely hear it. I don't know. I usually turn my volume pretty low on these videos so you can, you know, hear my voice rather than sometimes the in-game assets, not really being worth it. So here's an example of actually oops, that was bad. I just right-clicked off the screen. Oh man, I did it again. God damn it. Alright, my apologies. Basically what I'm trying to get at here is there's an artifact right here. And I can't light that beacon for some reason, but there is another beacon that I could have lit. I think it's probably on the other side there, and then you get the artifact by sliding down the tunnel thing there. Not the tunnel thing, the beam of light, I guess, for lack of a better word. But yeah, as I was mentioning, the combat was really fun when it just consisted of you using the glare and pushing enemies into the into the spikes, and also using the glare to reflect projectiles back at the turrets and whatnot. That was a lot of fun. But once you started getting like the beam gun, or not really the beam gun, but once you started having to shoot everything, it just became like hold left click to win, even though that's not true at all, because most of the time if you hold left click, you're actually just going to die because enemies will overrun you. Your beam is not consistent enough of DPS in order to kill everything. Now this is another issue that I kind of have with the game. Every so often, like multiple times throughout the level, you're going to get to a little lake here, and then he's going to look at that tentacle beast, and it's going to die, and the water turns blue, la-di-da, you win. But you don't win. Like, there's literally no point in me doing this, just like besides coming here and doing this little cutscene every single time. There's no point to that cutscene, really. It's wasting my time, and it kind of feels like it's unnecessary. When you could have just done that in the background as you came by, like, you could have made that an enemy, really, and made it so you had to kill that little thing, and then give it some more enemy variety, and even, like, I don't know, I feel like that would be more fun rather than just watching a little cutscene of you clearing up the lake or whatever it is that you're doing to that lake there. So I don't know, that's a little nitpicky, but I feel like that cutscene is because you see that cutscene so often. Like, it's not just a once in a level thing, it's multiple times in a level for every level, so it's a little weird, and I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of out of place. So as I mentioned before, the darkness does not insta-kill you or anything, it just does a little bit of damage over time, and then this little beam of light, or this little speckles of light above me, I'm just going to kill that turret by bouncing off, or reflecting his bullets back. That thing that I just collected is health, as I mentioned earlier, and I kind of feel, ooh, shit, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Oh man, I messed around with the window again when I didn't mean to. It feels like the health system is a little weird in this game. Like, it's not, oh man, I don't know how to explain this. It's not unforgiving at all. Like, you can get by without dying, of course, because you get the health back from enemies occasionally. It's just most of the time it feels like I don't know how to explain this, but like, it feels like you're either dying to cheap deaths due to the vines that just insta-kill you, which is kind of nonsensical, or you're getting hit to enemies 3 times in a row, which is very, very boring. It's like, I don't know, it feels like the combat isn't nuanced enough for me to enjoy it as much as I could be. So as you can see, I'm very, very dark, so that means I was almost dead. And it's just like, that's not really so intuitive into how your health works. I don't know, it feels a little weird to me. Okay, so I gotta bring this to a place, and I think if it touches vines, it is insta-destroyed or insta-killed. I don't know, whatever. It's not killed, it's not alive. So yeah, I brought it to the place. That was just basically the first little puzzle switch. You don't actually have to do that very often. One thing this game does very well is the backtracking, actually. So we were just over here, actually. I cleared up the fog that was here, and then that thing opened up. Now what that gave us access to is this ramp over here, which means that we could use it to go over here and then jump onto this thing. So without that access to that ramp, we wouldn't have been able to make it over here. So yeah, one of the things that I have an issue with, well, one of the many things, I guess, unfortunately, is that when you are sliding like that, like there's no reason for it to just slide you whenever the developers think that it's a good idea. Like, it could have just given you a run mechanism, like almost like Metroid. Can I not do this? Okay, that is weird, and I kind of remember this happening the first time as well, so you just have to walk into the darkness, which is kind of weird because you never really want to do that any other time in the game, but right here it's okay, apparently. But yeah, I feel like you could have just gave me a run button, or made it so it's like Metroid, in that you have to run for a certain amount of time before you actually pick up enough speed to do anything productive, I guess. Like, normally you're just walking like normal. Wow, that guy jumped really far. But instead, it just feels like they don't want you to run all the time because it might cheapen the length of the game, and that's a little true because it seems like it's short enough as it is. But it also feels like that they don't want you to like somehow break the level, because that seems like it's a certain possibility. There's an artifact down there, but I've obviously already collected it. Yeah, I feel like if you'd be able to run at any time, there's definitely some points in the game where they'd have to like design the level a little more cautiously, I suppose. Whereas without giving you the ability to run whenever you want, then they just design the level as they want it, and then they give you the ability to run when they feel like it's necessary, which I guess is okay in the grand scheme of things. But it doesn't feel like that's an upgrade. Like when I got that upgrade in the second level, I was just like, oh yeah, I can slide down hills, yay. And on that note, actually, I want to bring up something. The aesthetics of this game, actually, I like a lot. That's probably one of the best things about this game. The music is alright, the aesthetics is probably what sells it. The background, showing like this whole world here, like you didn't really realize that I was climbing up a beast of sorts, or a creature or whatever, but I was, and then, he doesn't really say anything, but it's neat. I like the world that this game is set in, but that's probably one of the only things that I like about this game, unfortunately. What was I getting at? Yeah, the upgrades I felt like almost all of them are just like almost unnecessary. So I think in the first level you get the gun, so like, okay, whatever, that's what you get for the rest of the game. And then in the second level you get that slide thing. In the third level, I think, which is this level of course, I think you get access to a gun upgrade, which is just, it's like the wave beam from Metroid. I don't mean to use a lot of Metroid examples, especially since this is not a Metroidvania game. It's not at all. It's a very linear platformer as opposed to, almost open world. It's definitely not an open world game. After you beat the level for the first time, or beat a level, there's no reason for you to go back. Even though you've upgraded your character, you will start off without your upgrades and whatnot, because that's the progression of the level. That's what's required of you. So that's unfortunate. Because that hurts the length of the game, the replayability. I don't think there really is any replayability except to get those artifacts, and even then, I don't think anyone really cares about collectibles that much that they're going to replay an entire game to go find those collectibles. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in that. I'm sure there's some people who enjoy collecting those things. I was enjoying collecting the artifacts, but I also found most of them being pretty damn easy to find, except for apparently in the first level where I only collected one, which is weird. I was very surprised to see that. But yeah, it feels like there's a lot of problems with this game that that just don't make it worth it for me. It feels like this is one of the newest enemies that was added to this level, and basically it's the same enemy as before, these floating head things, except for the fact that it explodes into 3 more smaller heads afterwards. Like, that's no fun. And then in the next level, I think there is another exploding head type guy well, not exploding head type guy, another enemy, which is, okay, this is actually the enemy I'm talking about, which is essentially the same enemy as before, except it's faster and explodes on you. So, like, that's not entirely creative at all. I feel like the enemy design is alright, like, aesthetically, but I feel like that they could have done more with what the enemies could do, because as it is, the combat is very boring, because basically it's just either right click or left click, which I guess is kind of the point of the game. Like, you right click and try to push them into thorns or whatever, and then you left click to kill them if you can. So this is a good example. Like, you get swarmed a little bit, but instead of just letting it happen, just shooting them, you can right click and just fend them off, which is okay, but like it's not, there's no other depth beyond that, unfortunately. It's just left click or right click, and that's the entirety of the combat right there. And then when you're not in combat, you're doing these platforming challenges, which is essentially using right click to turn on things or to go to things, as well as just jumping. And even in the fourth level, like because every level brings something new, which is good. It's good to have that progression in games, but it feels like that it almost should have been there from the start, because you get double jump on the fourth level, and it's like you're already, I don't know how accurate it is, but you're already like almost 80% done the game, because it seems like there's only 5 levels. I guess 60% done, 60-80% done the game. And you get double jump, and it's just like, double jump, really? That's all we're getting? Because double jump's kind of, every game has double jump. Every game has a little gun that you can shoot. It feels like they didn't put enough thought into the upgrades and how that works. And there's one of the cutscenes, of course, that I feel is kind of unnecessary. The good thing is they're not very long, but it just feels like why? Why do I have to? Why? Like, I don't know. It just feels unnecessary to me. Yeah, I don't know if there's much else for me to say about this game. Unfortunately, there's a lot that I don't like about it, and few that I do. The platforming and the platforming is the best part of the game, I think. And maybe if we're not considering the aesthetics as a part of the, well, I mean it is part of the game, but I mean when it comes to the gameplay choices, the combat is definitely not as fun as it could be. There's definitely they could have done more to it for sure, but they didn't, and unfortunately that is just the case of how this is going. You just left click all the things, and if your left click doesn't work, you just right click, and that's pretty much it. So I push these guys into the vines, yay. And then the only times I've died, like the game is not very hard when it comes to combat. Like I said, the only times I've died is where I felt like I was, like the enemies spawned really close to me and I didn't have enough time to react. And when I do die, I just know where the enemies spawn now, so it's not fun going to, like, because basically once you know where the enemies spawn, you just make a quick plan, like, oh, I'm gonna push these guys into the vines and take care of the guys that spawn on the left who don't have vines near them, so I have to shoot them. And that's fine, but it just feels like that there's, again, not enough to keep me going. It's just, yeah, everything is running away from me. Like, yeah, you can reflect projectiles, that's pretty cool, but most of the time you could just, shoot them. See? He died. I don't know. I feel like I'm being very nitpicky, but I also feel like that I'm not entirely, that I'm kind of justified, because it feels like that there's not a whole lot that this game offers versus other games, especially in regards to length and replayability. There is none. And another thing I want to point out about this is the camera, which I don't have a problem with. The camera is actually pretty well done. Sometimes I feel it's a little too tight onto the character when it could be spread out a bit more. But one thing I do want to mention is the gravity changes with the camera. So as you can see here, this is definitely a curved surface that I'm stepping on, but the gravity is just staying towards down, which, makes sense and whatnot. But if I'm looking over here, that looks like a hill going down. Oh, I didn't realize it was shaking. So you would think that as you come over here, you would start sliding, but no, that's not the case. It only wants you to slide where where it thinks it's appropriate. So this is an upgrade station, I'm pretty sure. So it's going to give me an upgrade now. And I think this might just be the beam weapon upgrade, which... Oh, this is double jump. Okay, so I was wrong. About halfway through the game, you get double jump. And even then, halfway through the game, you get double jump? Really? That's like, at this point in platforming, it just feels like that's something that should be... that you get pretty early on. Like, I can understand not having it for the first level or two. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is the third level, so maybe I'm wrong with this critique. But because of the length of the game, it just feels like, double jump was kind of tacked in when it didn't... when it's just like another up... like, they thought they needed more upgrades and they couldn't handle... like, but they couldn't think of anything creative enough beyond, a beam weapon upgrade and a double jump and I'm gonna die. That's unfortunate. Complains about the game being too easy, and then, dies to basic turret enemies. Yeah, I don't know. This is not a game for me. And the best part about the game, honestly, is like the later levels. Oh, I just moved the window. That was real dumb of me. Oh. Okay, that was weird. It was, my controllers were, it's like I had sticky keys on for whatever reason. I'm gonna just beam up. Is that guy alive up there? Whatever, I'm just gonna beam everything. Oh, he is up. Just gonna... If you beam them directly, they won't shoot anything, but if you stand far enough away where they're not in the light, they will shoot. Okay, so, as I was saying, the best part about the game, really, is basically the later levels, because things get a little more complicated, you have more abilities, you have more enemy types, and it just feels like that the first hour or two is kind of slow, and there's not a whole lot to offer. Like, these enemies, or not these enemies, sorry, these background guys who look very cool, I like the design and whatnot, they only appear in this level. And the earlier two levels are just a basic jungle level where they're introducing vines and the enemies, and it's like a super tutorial. And then the second level is just teaching you how to slide, essentially. Oh, that was bad, but thankfully the moment you touch any surface, it seems like you get your double jump back. That's pretty cool, I guess. So yeah, the fourth level is like an ice world, and I think the ice world looks very cool. I probably enjoyed that level the most, but I actually stopped playing towards the end of it. And at the end of every level, which hopefully I will show soon enough, hopefully I am almost done this level, there's a boss, and even the bosses aren't very enjoyable to face, unfortunately. It feels like they are essentially the same boss over and over, except it progresses a little bit, like it gets a new ability, and Oops. Oh, okay. I thought I was gonna get hurt by that homing one because I didn't react in time. So yeah, the first level, the boss is very, very easy. Then it gets like progressively difficult, but even then, it's not very difficult. It's more just tedious than anything. And I'll show you an example of that hopefully soon enough, because I kind of want to finish this video. And I don't want to talk about the bosses too much without actually showing them, so you can get an example. I'm pretty sure I'm almost done this level now that I think about it. I just need to hit the switch. Is this a switch? No, it's a platform. So, yeah, I don't know. It feels like that there's not enough in this game for me. I played a lot of platformers, and there's a lot of platformers on Steam and Desura and every other system that there is available ever. And it just feels like that this one isn't smooth enough for me. Okay, we're gonna do one of these cutscenes again. Stare at this thing, and it does the same animation, and then it goes away, and there you go. Like, that's the third time this level. It feels unnecessary to me. It feels like I could have just went into that room, and then the water changes on its own, and you can continue walking forward and even like chase the water a little bit. Okay, so I am at the boss now. So this is the boss, and this is the boss for every single level, it seems, except it upgrades each time. So in the second level, it didn't have this shield that also has lasers, but every level it spawns enemies that you've fought so far. So every level you're basically fighting these same little darkness heads. I don't know what they are. And then once you survive long enough, I think it is, it loses its shell, and then you can just shoot it a bunch, and then once it takes enough damage, it goes into this phase again, and then it's just rinse and repeat over and over, and that's basically it. So you can't even damage its shield. All you have to do is basically just kill things as you wait until the boss can reveal itself. That's pretty much the entirety of the boss, and I don't know how it progresses even further, but it feels like that, like, it progressing doesn't make you feel any different towards it. Like, it's not like it's any more dangerous. It's just like, oh, it's a little more tedious. It's not even like the danger to it, even though I just got hurt by the boss itself. I was just gonna say the danger to it is essentially these enemies that it just keeps spawning over and over. And if you don't like these enemies, like if you play these first two levels and you don't like shooting these flying heads, then you're not going to like this game, because that's pretty much the entirety of this game. It's either shoot the flying heads or push them into vines using the glare, and your glare does nothing. I haven't even really touched on this, but I feel like the glare could have been used a lot more, and it's not. It's only used mostly for platforming, and it's for pushing away enemies, and that's not really all that important when you can just kill them most of the time. The only enemies that I feel like you need to push away are those homing ones that explode, because they get pushed away really quick compared to the other enemies, and you need to do a lot of damage to them, or enough damage where it seems like it's not so easy to just kill them as they rush you. And unfortunately I'm dying, and I did die quite a bit on this boss, just because it's so much is going on, unfortunately. Like, I don't know. It's a weird case of the game being easy, and then it's not easy at certain points. Like, it's very tedious at certain points, and it's just like, oh, come on, just kill all these guys, please. I don't want to kill these floating heads and these dragons anymore. I just want to beat the level. And then you can't, because you have to kill these floating heads some more. I don't know. It's unfortunate. I feel like there's just potential here. I feel like the glare could have been used a lot more effectively, and it's not. It's basically the glare is there to as an afterthought, almost. Like, that's what it almost feels like. When I first started playing the game, the glare seemed like it was super important. Like, oh, we're gonna have to dodge these enemies, we're gonna have to push them into, vines to kill them. Okay, that's cool. But then when I got the gun, it was just like, oh, well, what about the glare? And that's about it. Like, it's not just glare. It's like glare and shoot is what the game should be called, or something. I don't know. I feel like that they missed an opportunity here. What they could have done with the combat. The combat could have been more almost like stealth, where you were trying to sneak around in the darkness, and only when you got caught you had to use the light. I don't know. Maybe that's a different game entirely. Well, obviously it is. But I just feel like that this spammy left click button does not add anything to the game, and it just makes the game feel even more tedious, because it feels like you aren't doing any damage to most of the things. Like, you are doing damage for sure, but it also just takes stupid long time for you to kill some things and this is even after I got the gun upgrade in level 4. I felt like the gun upgrade it's literally just the wave beam from Metroid. more bullets, really. Instead of shooting 3, you shoot like 4 and it goes wavy. I don't know. And it shoots a bit faster. That's about it. Like, that's it. There's nothing else. There's not a charge beam there, as far as I know. Maybe it's in the 5th level, but if they're adding a charge beam into the 5th level, as you can see the loading screen here, there is only 5 levels. It just feels like not enough, and feels like I've talked about this game for way too long as it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. You can see a little bit of taste of the ice world now. But yeah, it's not enough to keep me going. I will see you next time.